All right. Hey guys, welcome to CAD workshop number one. My name is Basil, and I'm a mechanical engineering major. And then the other CAD lead, I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, my name is Dan. I'm also a mechanical engineering major.
Awesome. So I just want to go over what the purpose of these workshops are. So the purpose of this workshop is to prepare students to be able to take the SolidWorks CSWA mechanical design exam to be an certified SolidWorks user. You're going to be an associate mechanical design certified user, and this exam is going to be it's a lengthy exam, 3 hours, and there's going to be a lot of things covered on the exam. And the essence of this workshops is to prepare for this exam, go over all the material that would be covered on the exam, and hopefully you can ace the this certification exam. And once you get the certification exam, you can put on your resume and show it off to when you apply to for internships or jobs, and that shows that you are a capable CAD designer and you can work with CAD, which is, a big part for mechanical engineering. So for this introduction, we'll go into uh, more of how to use SolidWorks, and that would be the other CAD lead. Dan can take it from here.
All right. Okay. So once you open up SolidWorks, I'm just a little bit of an introduction here. You're gonna want to notice your workspace right here, and how you're gonna want to know how to go into a part file, how to create a new part, so you can actually start working. So on this blank screen right here, it's not gonna be very useful. So we'll have to go into File, New, and from here you can choose a part or assembly or a drawing. And to start off with the basics, we're just going to create a part, which is just going to be a 3D representation of a single design component. And later we'll go into assemblies. That'll be in a future CAD workshop where we actually put those parts together. But for now, let's click part, let's press OK, and you'll be greeted with this screen right here. So I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way. And here you're given a blank space to work on. So a couple things to note here is on the left you have your feature manager slash design tree, and this is basically where all the changes you make are going to show up for easy access. You'll have your also your principal views here, your front, top, and right view, as well as you want to notice this coordinate system right here, which tells us which way we're currently facing. So we can move around this view with our middle mouse button. If you press it down, you can rotate around. If you press Alt middle mouse, you can also spin along one axis, and you can zoom in by scrolling the middle mouse button. So you need to know how to manipulate the views to start working. Now, in order to start working on this part, we're going to be doing this one as an example. We want to first orient ourselves in the coordinate plane. Now, before we even start drawing anything, we also want to think about how we're going to create these parts. We have a couple tools at our disposal. We can create two-dimensional sketches, and then we can extrude those into a three-dimensional geometry so that we have a solid volume or a solid shape. We can also make extruded cuts, which is where we create a shape that we want to cut out, and then we create a hole with that sort of cross section through our part. So there's a couple different ways we could make a part like this. We could start by just creating the two-dimensional sketch shape and extruding it out. We could start by making an extrusion of the full part's contour right here and then cut through these little shapes right here. Or we could do a mix of those two where we create sort of a sketch of the outer shape and then we create a hole through the inside using an extruded cut. I'm probably gonna do just a sketch and we'll extrude that whole sketch, but we'll might see how to do it in a different way. So looking at this part document, the front view is shown right here and the right side view is shown right here, and the top view is going to be right here. It looks like the top view is the most detailed, whereas the front and the right side, they don't have as much detail because you can see we're looking at, we can't really see the prominent features of this part from those. Although we do see some hidden lines showing us that there are features that we can't really see. For example, these hidden lines that are describing the circle right here, and the hidden lines on the right side view describing this cut right here. And we see some solid lines right here. But really the most information we'll get is from the top view. So let's orient ourselves on this plane. I notice my top view is kind of right here. So in order to start drawing on it, I'll want to hit spacebar, and I now have my glass box projection where I can select the view that I want to use. It says here that this will be, this will be our top view. So let's go ahead and click on that face, and it's going to automatically orient us in the proper direction. Now we can go to the sketch tab and we can click sketch to create a two-dimensional drawing on this part file. So in some cases these documents will tell you where to create your part origin. In this case, it looked like it's arbitrary, so I'm going to create our origin right at the leftmost point of our document. Now, when you're creating this sketch, one thing you can do is just start off by drawing the general shape of the part without giving any consideration to the size of the dimensions. Those will actually be able to set later. You'll see that as I'm drawing some of these parts, although it doesn't quite matter for us to have the exact shape set out, like I could draw it like this, for example, it might be helpful if you start by drawing those horizontal and vertical lines, so just that you don't have to fix them later. If you see here, when I move my mouse from this point to the right, I'll have this little horizontal line icon, which tells me that this line will have a horizontal relation, and that if I place it down, I'm not going to be able to twist it along this axis. It's going to stay horizontal no matter what. Whereas if I didn't do that and I clicked my line tool and it created a line that's diagonal, it's free to move around. So whenever you see these symbols, you know that it is vertical or horizontal. I'm going to keep using this line tool, and I'm just going to draw out the rest of this shape. So for the, so for this arc right here, what we can do is we can use the line tool, and we can sort of bring it around in a circular shape. Or you can, there's also an arc tool that you can use right here. So let me create a 3-point arc, or let's say tangent arc, and we'll make it tangent to this point. And also we'll make sure that it follows this vertical center line right here so that it's not going to extend too far. We want it to be capped at 180 degrees. And now we just need to continue the rest of the part right here. So I'm going to follow the same shape, going horizontal, drawing a vertical line, drawing a horizontal and vertical line. And finally, we're going to end up back to where we started. We want to make sure that we're careful to close the sketch fully Otherwise, it's not going to extrude. So here I can see that I have a closed contour. Now, you can see that a lot of the lines are blue here. So a blue line really means that our sketch is not fully defined and it's going to move around if I pull on it. Whereas you can see the black lines don't move, they're fully defined. Before we extrude anything, we want to make sure that our sketch is fully defined. So we want all these lines to be black lines. And now that I've had the geometry made, I can start to dimension some of these lines just so we can see if we can constrain them more. So you can go up to this Smart Dimension tool and just click that. And you can either click between two endpoints of a line, or you can click on the line itself, and it should dimension that for you automatically. So the first prominent dimension I see is between this point and the point starting on the circular arc. That distance is going to be 50. So note that I just click those 2 points, or I press Smart Dimension, click those 2 points, and then finally click again to place my dimension actually on the drawing. So let's continue dimensioning some of those lines. Click Smart Dimension, and we can select this line right here. Since it's just one entity and it's not crossing over several, I don't have to select those 2 points. I can just click the line itself and it should create that dimension. Once again, I'll place it on the drawing, click on the drawing to place it, and I'll just type in 20 to say that this is 20 units long. Let's see, we also have that this little piece right here, that's going to be 10 units long from the drawing. And we also have that this vertical dimension right here is 10 units. And we can see that the dimension line is referring to the bottom of this gap right here. So we actually want to select this point here, and we can reference it to one of these points up here, like so. And that is going to be a distance of 10 downwards. And let's see what else. We have that the outer diameter of this arc is going to be 40. So the circle with a line through it is a diameter symbol, which means that this is 40 units in its diameter. And since this is an arc, it's going to want me to dimension its radius, not its diameter. So in order to make sure I have the right units, I'll put a radius of 20. That'll correspond to this diameter of 40. And we can just go ahead and add the second circle in here. Since this is a full circle, it will now have me dimension its diameter. And the diameter of that one should be 20. So we've got all our dimensions for this top view, but it still looks like it's not fully defined. I can still move some of these pieces around. So I'm gonna want to see if I can constrain them further. And one way we can do that is by using more relations. Similar to what we saw with the horizontal and the vertical lines, you can see that, for example, this line has a vertical symbol and tells us it's straight up and down. If we want to constrain two lines with a relation between each other, what we can do is we can click those two lines, or you actually want to click one and then hold shift and then click the other one. That'll select both lines at one time. And now you can see that I have several relations I can choose to constrain these two lines. It looks to me like on this drawing that the lines are collinear. So I'm going to select that relationship right here. And now you see that it should align those two to where I can dimension or constrain them a little bit further. So they're still not going to be fully constrained. We want to see what else we can do to fix that. it looks like dragging this point around, I can see that its angle is not constrained. And one way we could fix that problem is if we select this line and we apply a vertical relation. Let's see what else we can do. So it looks like this line right here keeps shifting. So we need to constrain this vertical motion somehow. And one way we can do that is we can take the centers of these circles and make sure that they're collinear with the center of the part on the left side here, because we can see it's sort of symmetrical about this axis. So I'm going to select this center point of the circle, and I'm going to select our origin by shift clicking, and we want to make those two pieces horizontal. And now we can see that's constrained a bunch of our lines now, because no longer can we shift this up and down. Now there's a couple more dimensions we can add. Looks like these do have the proper horizontal and vertical dimensions. But since this line right here is moving, this one is not, I could relate this line, this blue line, to this black line. So I'll select this one, shift click this one, and we can set those two to be collinear. And you can see that one is now fully dimensioned. And the only thing left is this movement right here, this movement right here. Since we have symmetry around this part, we can relate these lines to the ones above here. And I'm going to set these two lines to be collinear, and these two lines to be collinear. Finally, we still have this motion right here. So we could solve this in several ways. We could dimension just the same thing on this side, like 10, since the gap is 10 units deep in this side, it's 10 units deep on this side. Or we could use another relation where we take this vertical distance and this vertical distance, and we set those two lines equal to each other. And now you can see that should fully constrain the part so that it cannot move anymore. Okay, so that looks like that's it for that top view. Let's go ahead and exit our sketch and make sure we save our changes. You can see the sketch is fully defined now because there's no indication, there's no warning sign there. If I had left any blue lines in my sketch, when I exit that sketch, it would have a minus symbol to show that it is underdefined. But now that we got rid of all those blue lines, we've fully defined everything, it's gonna look fine. And from here, once you've created your 2D sketch, you can go ahead and make the 3D geometry, and that will be no longer in sketch, that will be in features. So you can see here we can create an extrusion, we can create a couple other pieces, a couple other parts, but we're going to focus on the extrusion. So extruded boss base, we're going to select, notice that we can select either a plane onto which to sketch our cross section or an existing sketch. So since we've already created this sketch, I'm going to go ahead and just select this sketch right here. So it looks like the sketch contour I chose, it's only choosing one of my pieces. Or, hold on. Okay, so I had to redefine that one. I had to select this inner portion because we don't want to extrude this circular region. That should be a hole. And we just want to extrude this blind, which means we're just going to go a certain distance. And looking at the dimensions, that information is going to be contained in this front view, where we can see if we were looking at the part from this view, it would be extruded 20 units upwards in this direction. And you can set that right here in this dimension. So that looks good. I'm going to go hit the check mark. And we can see that the geometry that we created should match up with the isometric view we have here. So in order to make sure of that, I'm going to press the space bar, click on this corner point right here for an isometric view. Looks like it's upside down, so I'll hold Alt, middle mouse, and I'll rotate it back up. And that looks like it matches with what we want it to. I can quickly show you, just as a final thing, that we could have created this in multiple different ways. So I'm gonna go ahead and we can see that now that our feature is created on the feature tree. I'm gonna expand this using the arrow, and I'm gonna click the sketch and edit the sketch. If, for example, I forgot to create the circle at first, and I had just extruded this solid region, what I could have done is created another sketch using the sketch tool, clicked this top face to start drawing on here, and I could create a circle, taking care to make sure it's symmetrical about our part. So I'm not going to want to just create it anywhere, but I'm going to want to take care with my origin here and try to line that up along the line of symmetry. And you can see that's going to fall along that blue line. Now I'm going to want to dimension that with a diameter of 20. And it can still move left and right, actually up and down too. So we want to constrain that a little bit more. One easy way we can do that is just reference it to the existing arc, if possible. It looks like if I click on this outer arc and I shift click on the center of our circle, we can create a concentric relationship. And now you can see that these two circles fall in line with each other. Now if I exit the sketch and go back to my features, you'll notice I have the option to now make an extruded cut. So this extruded cut is going to take the sketch profile. It's going to cut into the part instead of extruding solid material. So it's like the opposite operation. And if I click that, we can just set this one to go through all, which means it's going to go through the entire part. And hit the check. So you can see that's going to give us the same result. And you can see that the part looks exactly the same. Okay, I think now I'll hand it off to the other CAD leader and we'll work on another model for some more practice.
All right. Okay. So let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So that was an awesome tutorial. Thank you for that. So for this second part of the workshop number 1, we're going to do this a little bit more complex model. So this is the isometric view. And just by looking at it, we can tell that it has some parts, so we can't just do, one sketch and call it a day. There's going to be multiple things that we have to do. So looking at this picture, we can start by, modeling this cube-like shape, and then we can do other sketches and extrudes to get this shape on the top. So in that sense, we will start with this part of the model. So if I open, let me just do this. Wait 1 second. If I do this, right, and let me delete this. So I was just making sure everything goes smoothly. Like this sketch. I'll delete it. Yes. So starting from scratch. Let me zoom out. We can look at this. See, this is the top view. If you remember the isometric views, this is the front view, this is the right view, and then this is the top view. So to start the sketch from the top view, what we can do is select the top plane, right? And then we can, like how Dan did it, we can press spacebar to move to that sketch plane, perpendicular, normal to that plane, or we can right away click sketch, and it'll automatically go to that, normal to that view. Another way what we can do is, say for example, like it was not normal to, like you move the mouse or something like that by accident, and you want to go back. What you can do is over here when you're gonna see negative sign sketch, and this is gonna be your current sketch, like the one that is under the solid line. This is the sketch that you're currently working on. So what you can right click that, and then if you look at this sign and you hover over it and you leave your mouse for a second, uh, it's going to say normal to, which means like to go to a normal view to the sketch plane, and this will go back to that stage, which is exactly what we want. So looking at this, we can. I'll start with making my center of coordinates right in the middle over here. So we'll start with that. Oh, to make a square like so. So if for some reason you are not able to see the relations automatically like this, what you can do is under this eye here, you click that button below, and you're gonna have this like a perpendicular line with that like 90-degree angle indication. If you click that, like you're not going to have it. I personally prefer to have it on at all times to see the relations. It'll help you a lot with dimensioning and having an easier workflow. So after we make the square, we can see that there's a circle we're gonna have to cut out, and this time I'll draw it inside the square, so I don't have to do two operations. I can do one operation at once. So now it does have a general look of that flat part. So we will dimension the sides now, and we'll click Smart Dimension, click the line, and then we'll give this a dimension. And if we look here, this length is 50 units, and then this bottom length, which is this one, is also 50. So we'll give this value 50 units. And the cool thing about SolidWorks is that it will automatically enlarge or work with your sketch to make the first dimension not change your actual sketch. Sometimes other programs, when you give it a dimension, it'll keep all these dimensions relative to the when you sketched it, which is it's a cool feature in SolidWorks. So then I'll give this value 50 units. So now we can see that the outside border is black for the rectangle or square, meaning that this is now fully defined, but the circle is blue. We can see that we can change the radius size, and we can move the whole center. So what we will do is first we'll give the circle its diameter. So we click Smart Dimension, and click the circle itself, and we can extend and give that 20 units. All right, and then we can give the dimensions for the center. So if we look at the circle in the sketch, they're going to draw the center lines of the circle, and it's going to give you the dimensions. So from this edge to the center is going to be 20, and the same thing from this edge to this center is going to be 20 units. So click Smart Dimension. We'll click the center of the circle. We'll click this line, this edge, and we can extend that and make that to be 20. All right, and then we can click that center again, click the other line, and then drag it out. Left mouse click, make that to 20. So now we have the general shape of the bottom view. but we have one extra feature that we don't have. So to do this, there are multiple ways we can do this radius or rounding, right? So we can first do it in the sketch view, in the sketch section, draw it out and then extrude that as a rounded edge, or we can have it a solid edge and then we can round it after extrusion. And we will talk about the second method in the future CAD workshops. It's going to be CAD workshop number 2. But for now, I'll just show you the sketch option, which is a sketch fillet. So if we click, let me just select, get out of smart dimension. If I select this, what this does essentially is if you click on a corner, if you just hover over it, it'll show you kind of a preview in the orange. And that kind of, and it basically, if you can see, if you select the corner, it'll round these two edges into a fillet shape. And if I click it, right, it'll hover, it change to yellow color, meaning that, you know, this side is selected, and now you can decide the distance, the radius of the curvature, which is over here, it says 10, and I automatically default to 10, so that's good. So we can click OK. And now we have this sketch, and it looks identical to what the bottom portion of this model would look like, so that's good. We have all the dimensions, 50, 50, 20, 20, the radius, and that fillet, so that's good. We can stay in the sketch, right, view, and, wait, sorry, let me just click OK for that fillet. We can, if we can see, yeah, everything is dark, black lines, edges, meaning that everything is fully defined. And if we look over here, it also says fully defined. This is just, you know, easy to, if you're not 100% sure, we can always look over here. And this is good. We can exit sketch and extrude it, just how we did on the previous model, or you can just stay in the sketch and go to features and then press extrude. So this will automatically, you know, select the sketch plane that you're working with. And yes, so we can now give the dimension for this part. And if you look here, it's going to be this section, right? And if you look at this model, this view, it'll have that this length is going to be 20, and it automatically default to 20, so that's nice. So click OK. So now we have this view, right? Now, the next steps that we want to do is to create these features over here. There are multiple ways you can go ahead with it, but what I would first do is looking at this, right, view, we can see that they fully dimensioned from here to here and from here to here. So since they gave us these dimensions and we can exactly see how they are laid out, we will start with this section, so this stair shape. So what I'm going to do is first I'll identify that it has to be in this part of the model, and to make life a lot easier, I'm going to select this sketch plane, because if we select this sketch and if you make this as a plane, right, and we make a sketch, we can extrude it out, so we're going to have something like this, and it's going to be, you know, on the same plane as this. So if we select this side, right, we can go to sketch and click sketch. So now what SolidWorks basically does is it creates a plane that is on top of this, basically, you know, parallel with, you know, zero distance, and you can sketch anywhere on this plane that is coplanar to this, and you can extrude it to, you know, whichever or do any features you want, extrude, revolve, you know, the options are there. So now I want to be in the normal view of this sketch plane, so I would right click on the manager tree where it says sketch 8, and you're going to see this traffic light sign. So this traffic light sign is basically saying it's still in progress. It needs to what was the word? I forgot. Rebuild. Yeah, it needs to rebuild. So there's the sign over here as well. So what rebuild is basically means is, say you change the dimension, but the model itself did not update. You can press the rebuild button and it will like update the model. And basically here is why I would say rebuild is because we're still doing the sketches and the dimensioning, and the model has not been updated to what we were doing. Ideally, it would happen when we finish the sketch, right? So that's just a side information. So if I right click on this and I say normal to, we'd move to the normal view of this uh, plane, and then I can make a sketch. So I can either make a line and draw each line independently, or I can make a rectangle. The main difference is that you would draw two lines, but it would automatically do the relations of horizontal and vertical for each of the lines. So if I just go back and delete this, I just want to show something else. So another thing that I would like to note is if you look, we can still interact with the actual model that you have, and we can see that if we look at it from this view, right, this view of the picture, uh, the parts are going to be on the same uh, corner. So this corner, right? So if I go back to this shape, let me go normal to. We can click the rectangle button, and if we hover the mouse over that button, you'll see that right on the right of the mouse, the yellow box with a circle and a line. So that means it's going to be an intersecting line, and this is basically a relation. So if I finish the box, right, this line basically means that you cannot move this corner. It's always going to be, on intersecting with that, like the point or the corner of the model. Whereas this point, you can move that. And another thing, like you can tell, is like these two lines are black, meaning that they're defined on this location point. Um, so yeah, and then we can do the other side and the other corner at this. Sorry, this the step rectangle at the same time. So click rectangle, and this time I will click uh, anywhere on that line. I try not to do it exactly on the midpoint because they do give us the length, and if we do it on the midpoint, it's going to give us an extra relation that we don't want to. We want to be able to move this length. So I'm going to start the rectangle from over here, and then I'm going to move down. And if you move down, you can see that there's going to be this orange line that shows up. And alongside that, next to the mouse, you see that yellow square box, which means an intersection point relation. So this is exactly what we want. We want that to be flush with the part. So if we click that, now we have two boxes that are stated in the center, meaning that they're closed sketches. And I click yes. So there are multiple things that we have to keep in mind when we make a feature like this. One, we want to have a sketch that is closed and there's no like lines in the middle. This can add hassles or issues in the future of the model. So you want to cut this. The thing is, since this was a one line, you'll have to cut the whole line, and it is going to be a lot harder to just right click the line and press delete. You can do that and then draw another line. Or another easier method to delete this specific segment is to click trim entities. So click trim entities is basically exactly what it sounds like. You can trim any entity, and if you click your mouse and you hold your mouse and you drag it, you can see this line that shows up. This basically means you know whichever touches that line, it'll delete. So if I, for example, move my line and I select that or touch that line, right, it deletes it automatically. Uh, and yeah, so I'm just going to click Control Z to undo that to show you. So I'm going to start by clicking Trim Entities again, and then I'm going to click my button, my left mouse button, and hold, and I'm going to start in the center. So I don't know if you can see it exactly, but there's that line showing up, and then I can move, drag, and cut that segment off, and that looks exactly how we wanted it. And so yes, so now we can deselect the trim tool and we can start dimensioning. So if we look at the dimensioning, we can see that this length is 20 and then this length is 20. So we can click here, click again, give it a dimension, smart dimensions, click this line, and give this line a dimension of 20. And now we have the top two dimensioning done, and we can still see that there's some blue lines left. And if you just drag it, you can see that we can move it up and down. So that means that we have to give a dimension for the vertical part. If you look at the model, right, the topmost line and the bottommost line of the model is 40 distance. So what we can do is click this line, sorry, this point, which is going to be, horizontal of that line. And then we can select the bottommost corner of the model. We can still interact with the model. And we click that, and that will give us a dimensioning line. So we can click that, and we give this dimension of 40, right? And then, so we have one more dimension we have to do, which is this. And if you look at the model, it says that the distance between the bottom of the rectangle to the top is going to be 10. So we will select this line and give this line the distance of 10. And now we can see everything is solid black line, and meaning it should theoretically be fully sketched. I mean, it is fully sketched. So what we can do is select deselect smart dimension. And if we look at the model, let me zoom out, look at the model, this is what it's going to look like, right? So now we can do the extrusion. So we can click the features, extruded base to add material, and then we can automatically see that it's not in the right direction. We should put it in the other direction. So to fix that issue, we have this in the manager tree, in feature window. You can see that there's direction 1, and then there's 2 arrows. So if you click that, if you just, hover over it, you see that it says reverse direction, which is exactly what we want. So we can click that, and it reverses the direction. Also, what you can do as well is, if you select this, you can move it, but I prefer to just click that because it's easier and more intuitive. And then we can see the distance to define the distance. If you look over here, the top view, it says that it's going to be 10. Select the distance from here to here is going to be 10. So we'll give that distance 10. Click enter, and that looks exactly how we want it. So we click the check mark to finalize it, and that looks all right. That looks good. So the last remaining part is to do this feature. So we'll do the similar method of selecting this plane, selecting sketch, start a sketch, normal to that sketch. And then what we can do, since this is just starting from the top all the way down, we can make a line from this corner. We can start from this corner, and we see that relation intersecting point. We can click there, and we can extend our line until we reach the other point of the model, and you see that it's going to be highlighted in orange, that point, the corner, and then we see also the relation. So we click that, and if we exit or escape from that line, we can see that it's black, meaning that this line is defined in the lengthwise, but as you'll notice, there's no, it's not a closed sketch, and you need a closed sketch to do any extrusions or anything like that. So what we have to do is we have to draw a line that closes this sketch, and that will have the profile of what we want to do, what we want to extrude. So I'll click the line feature again. I'll click that point, and you'll see that now it says the relation is going to be concentric on the right side of the mouse in orange, meaning that it's going to be in the same point, starting from the same, origin of, relatively, or the same origin. Let me just do that one more time. So click, center, and then if you look, it automatically shows us, if we kind of go in the perfectly horizontal pathway, and then we go to that corner, it'll give us the 2 relations right next to the mouse. We have the intersection relation, meaning that's going to be on the same point of that feature, and it gives us the horizontal, which is exactly what we want. We want this line to be horizontal. We click that, and then we can make the last line to the top over here, and now we can see that this whole triangle is fully defined with all the black lines, right? And everything, all the relations look right. We have intersection, 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 and vertical and horizontal. So now we can go to features, extrude, and if you look So the same view, we can see that it does not look exactly like this. We need to change direction. We click that, and then it gives us we need to know the distance from this line to this line, right? How much we extrude. And if we look at this top view of the model, we can see that it's given us 10, and it automatically gives it at 10, so that's good. So click check mark, and we have that model that we wanted to make. So that is good. So yes, today this workshop we went over two different models. The first model was we went over the relations and dimensioning in general, and the basics of making a model. And then the second model we went over the same features, but we added more steps. It was more complex in the sense that you had to do multiple extrudes and multiple sketches. And so congratulations for finishing your first workshop. This is an important step. This might be difficult, but the more practice you do it, the more you're gonna get hang of how solid. Um, we will be posting these images on our Discord, and we will keep you guys updated on when we will have our next workshops. And yeah, do you have anything you want to add, Dan?
Not really. Maybe just definitely practice is important because the more you get used to doing all the sketches and relations and just like the process of forming the models, the better you'll get at it and the faster you'll be able to do it because there is a time
Mhm.
limit for the exam.
Yeah. And the exam is basically, to summarize it, you're going to be given sketches like these, right? And then you have to model the parts, and you going off of the drawings. And what the SolidWorks exam would be doing, which we'll be talking more in depth in future workshops, is um, giving the part a material and finding the mass of the material and finding the center of mass of the part. And we'll talk more about it in depth in future workshops, but just keep that in mind, and practice trying to understand and read the engineering drawings, and practice working with SolidWorks, and you'll be prepared hopefully by this summer. And the plan is to prepare you guys to take the exam this summer, and get certified this summer. Uh, so yeah, that's exciting. Um,
Yeah, I think
I guess
that's pretty
yeah, go
much it.
ahead. Yeah. To wrap it up, thank you guys for showing up, and I hope that you found this helpful, and looking forward to see you guys in the next workshops. Again, thank you, and I'll see you around.
Yeah. See you guys next week.